Hey, my Welsh besties. Today's guest is someone whose work feels like it was made for this month's theme of storytelling, expression, and reclaiming the truth of who you are. Devorah Brinckerhoff is a professional artist of more than 30 years whose creative life has been shaped by one belief. Real healing isn't pretty. It isn't curated, aesthetic, or polished. It's messy, textured, human. And when we allow it to be messy, it becomes transformative. 6 years ago, after leaving the traditional gallery world, Devorah stumbled into a process that would change her life and eventually the lives of countless others. It's something she calls soul portraits, a deeply intentional, expressive practice where she guides people to work directly with their own personal artifacts, old letters, childhood photos, journal entries, the physical remnants of who they once were. Through her own journey, childhood trauma, family estrangement, the identity shifts of motherhood, she learned that our deepest breakthroughs don't always happen in our minds. They happen when we let our hands touch the stories we've avoided. When we create instead of intellectualize, and when we stop trying to transcend our humanity and start witnessing it with curiosity. And her work proves it. She's watched clients who've been in therapy for years unlock something profound the moment they begin physically interacting with their past, because creativity bypasses the place where language fails. It moves us through stuckness in a way our thoughts alone can't reach. What Devorah brings to this conversation is an invitation, one that fits so perfectly with Welsh, to honor your difficult experiences without being defined by them, to see your story clearly without the filters or the performance, to reclaim authorship of who you're becoming by making room for everything you've been. She embodies the truth we talk about here all the time. Healing isn't a before and after. It's a process of returning to yourself. Messy, slow, honest, and that's what makes it beautiful. Devorah, welcome to Welsh. I'm so excited to talk to you about this. I think it's going to be so good.
Thanks for having me. That was great. That was a really great
Yeah,
introduction. Thanks, Sarah.
yeah, absolutely. I want to talk to you. So I want to start by talking to you about who you were before you became the woman that could do all of this work. So tell me, start with the nitty gritty. Tell me about your childhood.
I actually,
What kind of a kid were you?
oh, I was a weird kid, of course. Uh, I grew up in rural Vermont. I loved it. Well, when I was there, I think I look back with a lot of nostalgia for the ways in which I was allowed to roam in the woods of Vermont. So, but I was an unhappy kid, even though I think I, like most kids, very much tried to hide that. And I didn't understand it, right? I had no idea. I just knew I was different. My brother used to joke with me that I was adopted because I'm so different. I come from a family of uh, PhDs and doctors and surgeons. And so here I am. And they were really supportive for me going off to art school. I think that they always thought I would be a teacher in a very traditional sense. And for a very brief moment, I was. Uh, and I am absolutely a teacher, but not what they thought I would be. So there you go.
Yeah, totally, absolutely. So what was like, tell me about how you got into art then. If everybody, all of your influences were completely left-brained,
Yeah.
here's you, right-brained coming out here.
Yeah.
What were the artistic influences?
None. I didn't even know art school existed. I was in, I did,
Whoa.
I was always in art class. I always loved it, and I was always drawing and painting and coloring outside of the lines. Of course, I was lucky enough to live near Dartmouth College. Like our high school was on that
Mm.
campus, and so I started taking art drawing classes in high school when I sort of ran out of every single art class that my high school provided, which was a ton, and I love my art teacher. Um, but what happened is that I went to a summer art program at Wesleyan College, and that's where they were like, you need to apply to art school. And I'm like, what's art school? And so even though my grandmother went to Pratt, which is a old time, like that's been around forever and it's a fabulous art school in New York. So, um, yeah, and then I applied and got in and declared painting as my major, and then it was like galleries, and that's the very normal trajectory. Um, and actually, like I would make one change, like this kind of mixed media work I've been doing for a long time, but it took me until 6 years ago, 7 years ago to understand what it could do for other people. and that I wanted to shift out of the gallery scene then. So I started opening up my studio and doing workshops in a public way. I had been doing the work and having it in shows for at least 15 years. I'd always been painting, but mixed media started coming in more and more about 15 years ago when the shit hit the fan in my life.
Okay. So, can you tell me what that means? Like, what do you mean shit hit the fan? Like, I know you mentioned that the childhood trauma, all of that kind of stuff. Like, what are we working with here, Deborah? Tell
So
me.
I when I got pregnant at 32, I had absolutely no recollection or awareness of childhood sexual abuse, none. And I got pregnant and
Mm.
I'm like, what is going on? Like I panicked. I did not want anything foreign in my body. And so, like, normally, I think a lot of kids struggle at puberty, and I struggled so much at puberty. I struggled so much with braces. I struggled with any sort of major physical change that was happening, and I didn't know why. So, as a teenager, I wanted a boyfriend, but I wouldn't let a boyfriend like touch me. So that doesn't really work
Mm-hmm.
for high school boys. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so so I just didn't have a boyfriend. I was just like, okay, this isn't happening. So when I got pregnant, and there's so many layers in here, but that's when I really started to investigate my own history. And it was probably a 10-year process for myself, just moving through childhood sexual abuse. And it was always coming out in my paintings, but in a way that was sidestepping it. I couldn't talk about it. It felt way too shameful and scary. I knew it would be a problem for my family of origin if I was talking about that. And I didn't know who it was. When I found, I had sort of a sensation that washed over me in a therapy session that it was my father. And I was like, oh, no, 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 no. It cannot be my dad. We can't have that happen. That will not work. And I don't know, right? It was a feeling. I have no like cognitive memories of it. So it could be a father figure. But I obviously shared that with my husband and his family because we were living around them at the time. And they were super supportive. I chose not to say anything to my own family. Um, and my stopping, because my sister and I used to talk about it, and then when she wanted to know more, like, who is it? I was like, oh, I can't say. She's like, oh, so you know. And I'm like, I really don't want to talk about this. And she's like, it's dad, isn't it? And I was so surprised by that. And it just blew up. So that didn't go well. Um,
Okay.
and then sort of overlapping with this, we discovered that our own children were being sexually abused by their step uncle. But of course, we didn't know who. And it was a slow period of like years, like 3 years of figuring it out who. Um, and it unfolded in a really organic way because kids don't, they'll point and say, it's him, it's him, it's him, it's him. And obviously, it couldn't have been because they were total strangers that we would never have had any contact with. So when we discovered who it was and we told the family, my husband's family, they at first, it was just my husband's father, and he said, "Oh well, we're gonna get him help. We'll work with him. We'll get him help, and we understand."
You're referring to the abuser, like get the abuser help?
Yeah, which is what we
Okay.
wanted, right? Like we don't want,
Mm-hmm.
right? I didn't believe in a punitive,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's not going to help. That's not going to work. So the we thought everything was okay. And within 24 hours, my father in law had called every single person that we knew, including my father, to say, do you know what your daughter has been saying about you? Please join this lawsuit against our children for grandparent rights. So, and then I received a letter of excommunication in the mail. And 3 weeks after that, we got served papers for the lawsuit. And my father never called me. He never asked me, like, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? And to be fair, I can't even begin to imagine what it was like to receive that phone call from, you know, his daughter's in law and to hear that I had had that belief and that I had kept it from him. Nonetheless, I wish they had made different choices. So that was horrible. And I was just heartbroken and I did not know what to do. I love my family and I really wanted to be able to talk with them openly and have a conversation and, all this stuff. And that just didn't happen. And so when I was in my studio and I was surrounded by all of these papers and photos and legal documents, um, and one of the ways that we helped our kids work through that is that we my son couldn't write at the time. He was too young, and so he would talk and I would write for him, and then he would draw. So they would all come to the studio and they would draw what it felt like. And they were also obviously in therapy, and we had a therapist that really coached us on what to do and how to help them move through their trauma. And luckily, like, I had 6 years under my belt with my own when we discovered theirs. And yeah, so it was very messy.
Yeah, so that's kind of my question is where was the shift that helped you learn that beauty doesn't always look beautiful? Like that there is this messiness to it, but it makes it better? I don't know if that's the word I want to use, but I think you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, I don't think I thought that. So for me, and I didn't know this, and this is really what has come much more clearly over time, is that I was never creating artwork for the product, even though it was in galleries and selling. A lot of my work doesn't appeal to the masses. It's not easy. And so it attracts a very certain type of person who has inside of them a truth that wants to awaken, that mirrors other people. So when people come into my studio, they either run for the hills or they stay for hours and we become, right? They're like, I'm so out of here. Or they stay for hours and we talk about really deep lived experience. And I was like, this is so much more powerful and meaningful. It's all I want to do is connect with people who resonate with what I'm doing because it's real and because it's messy and because anybody who's dealing with, we were living in Salt Lake City and it has a very high Mormon population.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would meet people who were in the closet. And for me, I could not imagine that kind of prison. Um, and we would have these conversations if they're living in a marginalized population, no matter what that is. So that work became really, really important, especially now in the political field. If people are transgender and they're really scared for their physical safety, they would come in and talk about that and they would resonate with my work and it would be a reminder of like, yes, you be who you are, be the truth of who you are, because it's a beautiful thing, whatever that is. So, um, my, I'm not sure I'm answering your question.
No, 100% you are completely. But that kind of, I'm wondering then, like, so, like, what did it look like? Because that's your studio now. So, what did your gallery work look like of 30 years? Like, I'm curious about what made you walk away from gallery and into this, because this obviously sounds a lot more fulfilling, like you were explaining. And I really like the niche aspect of it. Like, I think it's really brave to be able to do something that might not appeal to everybody
Yeah,
and that people will like run away
right.
from, but that when you find those people that are into
Yeah,
it, they're into
they're
it.
into
And I think
it.
that's really cool.
Yeah.
So is that kind of like the shift or like what transitioned
So
you?
I was always creating artwork that, like, okay, so what's weird is that when I was pregnant and having babies, I painted in a way that I had never painted before or since. It
Hmm.
was like this 9 year bubble of very feminine women with pointy little boobs and high heels and purses and bright colors and bubble dresses. And it was like I was possessed. And in that, there were like sharp knives and big carving forks. And so I would paint these women with pretty much a very scowly, unhappy, like never smiling, holding a birth like a giant birthday cake with a huge knife that you could definitely kill a lot of people with. And so every like this like, oh, must I toil? Like I being the nurturer. And my grandmother, who I did not know, she went to Radcliffe, right? No, which is the one that was like
Hmm.
Harvard for women? Maybe it was. I think it was.
Ooh, I don't know.
Anyhow, very
I
like very smart and became a doctor's wife and gave birth to six children and stayed at home. And I think she went out of her ever loving mind. And
hmm
so I I wanted to become a mother so, so, so badly. And having children has made me a much better person. And it is so difficult. And so that birthday cake with a giant carving fork and knife, um, really was this element of it's not pretty, right? It's not easy. And especially when your kids are going through something as traumatic and taboo as sexual abuse,
hmm
I like, so I was sliding these things in, like, let's talk about it. Like, we must talk about it, even though I wasn't talking about it. I was standing behind paintings and letting people interpret whatever they wanted. But my work has always been dark. Like, I did a lampshade in college with a clipping file of a dead woman. And underneath that, I know, right? And I had no
That's
idea.
so cool.
Like, it's a dead woman, and I put it together like paper dolls because I loved paper dolls as a kid.
Uh-huh.
And behind that dead woman, and it's a repeating image, are pictures of me as a kid and growing up, right? And then like a woman being chased in a shadow. And so when you turn the light on, you can see both images. And
Devorah, that's so cool.
it
That's so sick. I love that.
it's and I've carried around with me. It's standing right here next to me for over, what is it now, like over 30 years. And I had no idea what it meant, but my body knew, right? Like my body was telling, right? Yeah. So when we
Oh my God.
so when we go back and look at these things, we're like, shit, this is so intelligent. Our system, our intuition, our inner wisdom has everything. And if we're not ready, like I was not ready, I didn't know what that lampshade meant. I know now, obviously, but I didn't know then. And so people are really afraid to like step into this work because they're like, I don't want to open Pandora's box. I don't want to know what's in there in here. I'm really terrified. And I'm like, you have nothing to worry about. Like if you're not ready, it won't happen, right? Other things will happen. It'll come up in a quieter, more subtle way. Um, it's actually always pretty quiet and pretty subtle. It's really when you're ready, you'll be
hmm
like, whoa, my body
hmm
knows.
Amen.
Yeah, right.
Amen. So then when you had that realization is when you were like, I can't do the gallery stuff anymore. I've got to open my own thing.
Yeah, and yeah, because it didn't feel real, that it was encouraging the facade of what it means to like be an artist, to make work, and who is an artist, like the whole gatekeeping thing. Like I'm just like, I was doing these, and I was curating for a museum for a bunch of high school show, and they just wanted to streamline. They never invited me back because I made this curating process take forever because I kept arguing for out of the box artwork. Because what is artwork? It who gets to define what deserves to be on a wall and what doesn't? And when I was in the position to do that, I wanted to pull in things that wouldn't typically be put on a wall because it's so important to express yourself creatively. That's the whole, or whatever that is. It's gardening, it's cooking. It doesn't have to be pen and paper. It's music, it's dance. It's creativity is so powerful. It's so important because it connects us with who we really are. So I don't ever want to speak to what is good art. If it makes you feel good and connect to yourself, then it's art. And if you're creating art and it
hmm
feels good and you're connecting to yourself, then you're an artist. Like these terms are ridiculous and labeling is ridiculous, and it provides ways for people to feel like they can't do something that all of us can do and have built into our system. So let's use it because it's a powerhouse.
Yeah, totally. I fully agree with that. I heard something recently that said that you decide whether or not you're an artist by the time you're like in second grade. And it's so interesting that when we like slap that label on of if you're good or not, because I am definitely a person that never identified as like somebody that was good at art. I could
Uh,
write, I could do all those things, but like when it came to
that's art.
wanting, right. And when it, and like the podcast, like to me is art, like it's all
Mhm.
creativity. But I was
Absolutely.
always like, oh, I'm not
Yep.
a creative person. I'm not good at stuff like that. And it made everything so stiff that I did. And so I think it's
Yep.
interesting that when you can loosen up a little bit and recognize that like all of the ways that you're expressing yourself and like I don't know what other word to use except like in a loose way, like that there's no
Yeah.
strict pattern for it to follow, that that
Yeah.
that it's beautiful and like that's how it comes out. And I say all of this because I think that like as we start to transition into talking about your soul portraits and how people can do that for themselves, I want people to feel like, anybody is capable of doing this because it's not so
Absolutely.
strict.
It's not at all. And it's the process. It's not the product. It's never the product. It can be the product. And people are like, I'm going to hate what I make. I want to burn it. I'm like, great. Hate what you make. Burn it. And people do burn it. And I'm like, awesome. Like just think of all the stuff that you're letting go of. It's so powerful. So these are all just layers, right? So whatever defined definition that says you're not creative or you couldn't do it, our lane gets so narrow. And I think somewhere earlier in our conversation or even in the introduction where wholeness includes everything. It includes everything. And even in this podcast with all the like technical issues, like so what?
Hmm.
And how can we flow with that and not have it be some kind of marker on our value? Because our value never changes. And that is just it's so important to start living from a place of trusting who you are in the world. It's a game changer.
And when
So,
you live like
however,
with the messy, raw, unpolished parts, it becomes the new medium, I feel like, in order to do all of this.
abs- well, and I think the other thing that as I start putting more and more layers on, um, it's so cold. So, when people are pretending, right? So if I'm pretending, which I spent years and years pretending to be somebody that I wasn't, to look better in some way, right? So if I'm if I can make my body more appealing, then the belief is I'm only lovable if my body is a certain way. Or if I do what people want from me, then if I don't do what people want from me, again, I won't be loved. So whatever love I receive under the guise of some kind of hiding or pretending or elimination of parts of myself, then I won't trust the love that I receive because it's under performance. And we all like, so how do we live in a society and stay kind and open to diversity without labels and rules? And like people think it will be utter and total
Hmm.
chaos, but I'm like, this is utter and total
Hmm.
chaos.
Great
Like,
point.
what if we, right? And so can't, like, the rules aren't helping us and the systems aren't helping us. They're dividing us and they're keeping us separate from ourselves. And so for me, creativity is what connects us to who we are and our divinity. And when we feel like we can really connect and accept, right? The acceptance piece is huge. So, acceptance, self forgiveness, once that is on board, then anybody can be who they are. And I don't need them to be anything for me. It is a way for utter and complete sovereignty and self empowerment. Like, I don't need you to do anything. I don't need you to like me because I like me. And so that's kind of it in a nutshell. And it just so happens to be that I got there through creativity, through like, and I had to peel back an awful lot of very messy, dirty, disgusting, painful layers that were very hard to swallow. But God, it's like peace on the other
Yeah,
side.
yeah, for
So
sure. Well, and then, I mean, what made you realize then that like other people could benefit from it just because obviously you did? How could everybody, like everybody needs to know this because it's incredible, or like what was the deal?
Kind of. So when I was in my studio all those years ago and ripping up that paperwork, like I was devastated. Like I felt like I had been sucker punched and I never recovered. Like I was devastated, heartbroken, just like I don't even know. And it was right before the holidays. Like, how do we do this? So we had a huge extended family, and within 24 hours, it was the five of us. And I just was like, fuck. I didn't know what to do. And so when I was ripping up those, I was mourning, right? Like the kind of grief that that held was just enormous. And that, and what did it mean? Like, what does it mean to be so thoroughly rejected? To be sued by the people who like are supposed to love us
Protect
and
you,
protect
right?
us, and then kick us out, right? Like what does, so who must I be is what is how I took it, right? Like I must be absolutely unforgivable and horrible. So I didn't, like, I was really angry. Of course I was angry and hurt, but I also was just self-punishing. And those messages had been there all along. That wasn't a new message, my wrongness, my otherness. So I was just like, yeah, I don't know it can get any worse than this. And yet something inside of me was like, no, that's not true. Like I want them to love me, but it they have a right not to, right? And so or to love me differently than I expect to be loved. And as I started to real like there's some tiny ember at the bottom of the trenches that said there's worthiness here. And I had to walk back to that. And I would never have looked for it if I hadn't been in the dark. Like I never so that messy, dark, very painful place is gold. Like it is what forges you into that phoenix that rises again, but one with like unfurled wings that says, I am fearless and I will not let anyone stand in my way of loving and accepting who I am. Self-forgiveness is not, it's a, it's messy. It is not easy. And the messages to overcome are powerful. Um, so to answer your question, when I was ripping things up and putting it on this canvas, and it was such an intuitive thing, hours into it, which felt like 5 minutes, I was like, I stood back and I was like, oh my God, like I'm disassembling my story. I'm dissolving it. I'm making it more digestible and I'm rewriting it. And it gives me chills today. Like I am taking all of these messages and I refuse them. I refuse to believe that they equal who I am. And I just was like, whoo, like my whole body responded. And I'm like, okay, I'm doing this all the time now. And it wasn't that that work was less successful at all. The most successful work I had was during pregnancy and young babies, all that work that I people really related to it because it looked happier than anything I'd ever done. But it was actually during one of the darkest times of my life and it sold like hotcakes. And for me, the association makes that artwork hard, but I so appreciate the person that I was that painted it and the people who resonated with it. There's something in them that wants to come alive, that wants to self-connect. I knew that if this work did this for me, it could really help other people. So I started working with war veterans and people who had uh, domestic violence, and absolutely, of course, other people with sexual abuse history. And I'm really interested in working with inmates and correctional facilities and coming back from just severe, severe trauma. Like you're still in there. We're still in there. So that's what I just love
You're
it. Like I can
incredible.
talk about
Yeah,
that.
it's so cool. So, and I love I love the story transformation because So what I do is I will convince myself of whatever truth. Like I will tell myself a story and it makes sense in my
Uh-huh.
head. And so then I'm like, well,
Uh-huh.
that's it. That's the truth. Like that's what it is. Even if it's like totally self-deprecating or it's about like somebody else and like why they did this certain thing to me, whatever it is, it's like if it makes sense in my head, suddenly that's the hard in rock truth, written in stone truth. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
And
Yep. Yep.
I think that like I think I always think when I try to transition to like changing my story, I think
Mhm.
of making a change and like saying like, okay, what story could I think of instead? Like how else could I perceive this? And I like the destruction that you talk about. Like I
Yeah.
like that you took
Yeah.
it all apart before you started to reshape it. I think that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, because none of it's true, right? Like absolutely none of it's
Right.
true. And whatever you're constructing up here doesn't even matter. Like I think it's good to navigate like, oh, there's a stop sign. I need to stop, right? Like that's our thinking mind. There are rules. When it comes to the emotional realm, I feel like everything we experience is in our body. And so it's a really somatic practice just to rip things up and to have them in your hands. It gets you out of your mind and into your body's wisdom. And so you can't possibly, let's just say you've got a letter from an ex partner and it can be loving or hateful. It doesn't really matter. It's who you were. It's your perception of that letter at the time you received it. So you're holding this letter, that person is not next to you. You are different from that time. Like you can't argue with that. You are no longer that person. And so when you're engaging with those materials, you have no choice but to recognize that there's so much perspective. And so what we come up with up here in our head is what we did then. And it's how we believed about it. Like we folded it into our identity without even knowing. It's like a seamless belief system based on things that happened before we were seven.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, who is running the show? Like, who, and that question, like, who's running the show and who do you want to have running the show? I always want my heart running the show. Granted, it can be really challenging, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I love that you said
Yeah, I
that.
think it's like the heart running the show is so cool because that's something that like I'm really starting to understand more as of recent. And I think that like with the self-compassion and being able to like I think something that's interesting is we don't realize how subtle it is. Like when
It's
we're
subtle.
talking about all of this stuff, it sounds so profound when you hear people, even you and I talking about it, anything else what we listen to or read, talk about it, it sounds so profound because when you experience it, it is profound. And so when we talk about it, we're like, bah, it's so great. You have this like realization and everything feels better. But that's not like what's happening, A, when you transform, when you like have the mentality shift, and it's also not what's happening when you're feeling all of those shitty things. Like you think that that's logic, you think that like this is all the
Absolutely.
truth.
Yeah, it's very, and so like it happens all the time. We cycle through it. So yesterday, for example, I was feeling kind of low, and usually what helps me is to go for a walk and listen to music or whatever and reconnect with myself. And it did not work. I just had a whole day of like, I suck, kind of like everything sucks. I suck. I'm never going to feel good again.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's the belief system, right? I, I'm and so we all have those moments that say I'm a complete failure, I have no value, and the choice is like my husband was saying, well, do you want to talk about it? I'm like, absolutely not, because I'll just grow it, right? Like I know what's happening. I don't want to pour water on this or miracle grow. I just want to allow it to be there, to have a shitty day, to feel really low and poorly about myself, and to acknowledge that that is a layer that is in humanity. Like we are all, that's part of us. And I don't want to exile it and I don't want to shame it and I don't want to deny it. I just want to be with it. And I want to be with it without yeah, without growing it, without pouring Miracle
Well,
Grow on
I
it.
think you said something really interesting about talking about it. Like, why do you think the creativity accesses the truth more than talking about it?
Because talking about it just, so I therapy is great, right? Like, but it's talking, and especially with very old belief systems about our in like our value comes from conditioning that just was absorbed. It's in our body. The beliefs are in our body. We are connected to it with our mind. And so something happens, right? Somebody flips us off in the car, or I don't know what triggers it. And we're like, oh, I suck, right? Like nobody cares about me. Whatever our story
Uh-huh.
is that reinforces a very old belief system. So if it's a breakup letter, whatever, like there's so many examples. I can get in a rabbit hole of examples. But it's our thinking mind does not help us. It just protects us. It wants to protect us and say, "Oh, this is painful. Don't go there. Do anything but go there. Let's go have some wine. Let's go eat some candy. Let's like I don't know, let's go have a lot of sex. Like whatever, let's go shopping. Like whatever it is." Our mind is like, "No." So you asked why not to talk about it because I'm not saying don't talk about it. Talking gets us to a certain level, but it doesn't take us all the way down to where it originated. And our mind wants to do everything in its power to stay away from that. And that's the biggest resistance that people run into because they're afraid of what they might find out. And I'm like, you're already in a prison in your mind because you're not connecting to the body. The body, yes, maybe there are some painful things there, but if it's something that you've really repressed, like, I don't know, any kind of PTSD thing that is in your body, you will not, it won't, if you're not ready, it's not going to show up. If you are ready, there is nothing but love. There's nothing but love. So I often just say that talking doesn't reach the places that need to be reached. Like I was in therapy forever, but every therapist I had a bias against something in my story, and their judgment kept me in shame. And they didn't mean to judge it, but I could feel it. My spidey senses, like I am extremely attuned to other people's bullshit and my
Mm-hmm.
own, right? So I do not exclude myself from this, but it kept me silent. And that's what the power of this work was for me because I couldn't talk about sexual abuse and I couldn't talk about the things that people are afraid of, like whether it's like sexuality in general, like whether we're like non-sexual or highly sexual, like sexual abuse leads to one or the other and often both. And so how did I use my body as a tool for self-destruction before and to reinforce the idea that I was valueless, that I was a tool for other people to use and abuse, was absolutely fired and wired at a pre-verbal time in my life. So of course, when I became sexually active, I chose the worst people to be sexually active with. Of course
Mm-hmm.
I did, which just is like this cycle of shame and oh, it was horrible. And so I and then, people I was so unhealthy. So people ran away from me. And I'm like, thank God they did. I was like a ticking grenade. So
Well, and again, I want
you
to
never
point out
knew.
the subtlety. Like when you're in those
Yeah.
moments, like you're not like
Yeah.
this guy sucks. I'm gonna fuck him, like that at
Right.
all. Like you're like,
Exactly.
wait, I think that we're meant
Exactly.
to be together. We've both had messy
Exactly.
past. He's this way because,
Yeah.
like like, and
Yeah.
then you look back in
Yeah.
hindsight, you're like, oh, okay, it was all just a pattern. Got it. Cool.
Exactly. Yeah, and I thought it was love, right? Like I thought it was love. Oh, he loves me. He will rescue me. Dear God. So,
Yes.
like, dear God. And so you're absolutely right. And I thought it was true. And And so I had it all, it also had to happen that way. Like, in order for me to ever get to the truth of who I was, I needed to go all the way down to the deepest part that I didn't want to. And I wouldn't have if I hadn't been sued and exiled or excommunicated or what it was. So I'm really grateful for it. In hindsight, I wouldn't wish it on anybody. So it's really tricky, right? You're like, so I'm always like, your worst experience is gold. Whatever that is, that's what you need to do your portrait about. Like, whatever that moment is in your life that you think is the very worst thing, let's just hyperspeed there and get it out of your system. And people are like, fuck you, no way. I'm like, I get it, right? Like, it's real, like, I get it. I get it. That's what I really want to encourage people to do, because I know what's on the other side of it. And I'm absolutely like, take this, meets you wherever you are. So it'll go at your own pace. Nobody should force anything. I don't want anybody to force anything.
Totally. So like with the, and I like the forcing too, because it reminds me of like what I was saying about the like stiffness of it. Like if you take it
Yes.
easy and you loosen
Yeah.
up and you just like, and I
Yeah.
could picture too while you like that this is more of a process. It's not like you sit down in one night and you're going to finish the soul portrait. Like it's that you got to like take time and figure it all out.
Yeah.
So like,
Yeah.
what does it like? I'm curious, like how does physically touching your past stuff change your relationship to it? Because I'm sure when people grab all this stuff, you know, I could like your example of the love letter, reading that and being like, fuck this asshole. And just like, I could picture it just being like bad emotionally. So like, why does that change instead of like bring up more of that shitty?
It can do both. But the thing is that because time has passed and like, we're changing constantly. So two things. This gets kind of ethereal. So for me, I believe everything is energy. I think we're energy. So I think this computer is energy, very slow energy, but still energy. The painting behind me, energy. A tree, total energy. Letters, energy. So they hold the energy of that time. But if it's 10 hours later, which it's still raw, and we relive the rawness, like if you're picking up the letter and you're feeding it to the messages that say, I suck or he sucks, you're keeping that alive. And again, that's why I think talk therapy keeps things alive that may not be accurate or true, or likely aren't accurate and true. Some of it is. Like, therapy helped me so much. So again, I don't want to diss therapists. So when you hold that letter, there's energy. When you rip up that letter, you're like making it more digestible. People get really scared. Like, I am not ripping up my wedding photo. And I'm like, great. You do not have to rip up your wedding photo. How would it feel to rip up a copy of your wedding photo? And people are like, oh, okay. So, and it's so interesting too, because people actually have they need permission to rip something up, like a wedding dress or a letter, because we keep it as proof of something. I'm like, so what if you took that proof away? Like, who are you without proof of being loved? And
Holy shit.
it's scary, right?
That's so cool.
Because so it's like, who are you under, like, why is this so important? And I love collecting things. Like, I love things. So I should be a hoarder. But and I'm super sentimental. I'm like, oh, and then I'm like, why do I hold on to this stuff? And what is it trying to tell me about myself? And what if I pick this up and I rip up this awesome drawing that my kid did? Does he disappear? Does this time in like this adorable drawing, does it disappear? Will I forget about it? Maybe. Energetically, it is here. It is in me. It is with me. We have this connection. I don't need this letter, piece of paper, photograph, fabric, flower, vase, whatever it is, cup, to remind me of love or value. And so if we're holding on to it, to me, it's evidence of not trusting this sovereignty that exists right now. And so if you're holding this letter of an ex and it's really painful, it's an opportunity to revisit the idea that they hold your value. in some way. Like they don't hold your value. They just don't. And you were okay and somebody before you met them. And maybe even if you felt like you weren't, you were living and breathing. And so I want to establish the way that we identify ourselves as valuable externally. Like it's all external. It's all external. So when you're holding that letter, it's an external thing. To put it simply, like whatever it is, it's external. And so it doesn't define you. What's inside of you defines you. Nothing else can. I mean, it can because we assign it value and meaning. But when you take that away, what is there? So take it away, and take it away by ripping it up, putting it in a thing, and without denying, like absolutely no denial. Like the process is about honoring everything you've lived through, anchoring who you are now, and inviting in the future you know you're capable of. Like it's a very past, present, future process that holds it all, right? Like I don't want somebody who's just shiny. Like how can I relate to that? It's so boring too. I'm like, dear God, I'm so bored by this. So show me something edgy and messy and real, like just real. Show me something real. I'm so tired of fake.
Yes,
So
same,
tired.
100%. I agree with you. I love the like taking it external because I feel like what's shoved down all of our fucking throats all the time is that you have to figure it out on the inside because you do, and it's true, and it is all of the internal that matters. But I love the idea of being able to take an external thing and working externally with it, since like all this shit has happened externally, so like now we can externally
Right.
take something to like fix it. I think that's really, or not fix it, but you know what I mean, like to heal it. And I think that's really cool.
It, you're saying something really important because that external thing is connected to a thread that's
Yeah.
internal. And it has grown, whatever it is, for better or for worse. It has fed that idea inside of ourselves. And so when we're ripping it up externally, it is touching what is internal automatically. Like it's just automatically does it. You don't even have to understand it. And people do this and they have no idea what they're doing. And it's days, weeks, years later that they're like, oh, holy shit. Like this lampshade that I did in college, like it was at least, let's see, I was probably 19. So it was over 10 years later that I'm like, what the hell? Like long time. And it's all in there. And it happens subconsciously. You don't even know it's happening, but you feel lighter. And you're like, oh, I've accepted something about myself. So when I'm holding that hate letter and I'm rereading it, I'm accepting that it happened. I'm accepting and honoring that experience as horrible, right? Like it was horrible, whatever it was. When you sit with it, it like rises up at this as this being, right? Because it is a being, like that energy of that letter is its own being, and you're tethered to that other person energetically forever. So let's do something positive with it. Let's rewrite what it means to us. We can't rewrite it for them, but we can rewrite it for us. And so when you acknowledge it and you engage with it, you change it. You just do. It just does. You should try it after this. You should just go rip up that letter.
100%. I'm 100% going to do that. That I have like a box.
And then you have to
I will. I was going to bring, it's in my car. I was going to bring, like, I have a whole little box of stuff and I totally forgot to grab it before the interview. I could have done it right here.
That's awesome.
But
That's so
I
awesome.
think, like, something too that, like, when somebody else hurts us, because like that's external, and so like obviously the things that probably associate or that do associate with them are also external, so like there's always things like, I liked how you talked about like the wedding dress and like all of that kind of stuff. I just think that like we keep it like as, like you said, proof, but also validation. Like it's validation that what happened was real, and that
Yeah.
they did love me at one point, or this person did hurt me in this way, but like almost more of like the good, like that they've taken away that power from you, that feeling that like it makes you feel crazy when they turn around and hurt you and act like this. You're like, wait, what? As if I didn't live this whole life. I'm confused. So having the stuff
Yeah.
is kind of like, see, it's real, it's valid. What I felt, what I experienced was really happening. But you know, like
Yeah.
to who? Like who? I'm not fucking pulling out my love letters and showing my friends. Like, so who am I proving this to? I'm only hurting myself.
Well, and the love and the hate, right? To validate what we've been through is really
Yeah.
powerful, and to be your own witness, because that's really what you're talking about. And especially with something like sexual abuse, when it's so denied. And if I'm waiting for somebody to say, yeah, that did happen, I'll never get that validation ever. So my own awareness has to be enough. And when you recognize that, so if you're sitting with the love hate letters or whatever it is, and you're your own witness to it, and you can love yourself through it and meet yourself with compassion for all the mistakes or all whatever it is that's icky and sticky, if you can meet that with that love and compassion, which we can. So it's a choice. Like, or not, right? Because I was in the victim role forever and I just wanted to stay blaming and shaming to other people so I didn't have to do that for myself. And really, I was still doing it with myself. So it continued. I wasn't doing anything, I was keeping myself stuck. And so if you're, that self witnessing is so empowering because it doesn't require anyone else. It doesn't require their validation. It requires yours. It doesn't require their understanding. It requires yours. No one will understand you like you do. And so that whole rescue thing is never going to work. It's never going to work. And it's not authentic. So if somebody does rescue you and you're like, oh my God, now I've got all the money and I've got all the whatever and I'm beautiful and he's beautiful or she's beautiful or, right? There's still the internal thing. Like, to know that you can do it for yourself is extremely empowering. And it's truly the only thing we can do. So if somebody is looking to me to be loved or to feel loved or to feel like enough, they will never, ever, ever feel like enough. They won't, because I cannot provide it. I wish I could. Damn, I wish I could, but I can't. And again, like, that comes up in partnership or being a mother. Like, I love my children so much, but if they're feeling shitty and like they're the worst person in the world, they don't care. And they're like, they can dismiss it in every single, you're just my mom. And I'm like, you're right, I am. And, and it doesn't, I can't make them love themselves. So we have to do it for ourselves. We have to. And in order to do that, we have to acknowledge everything we're so afraid of inside of ourselves, connected to the external stuff, the lived experiences that reinforced or forged who we think we are. Because it's not who we are. It's just not.
Yeah, completely. I think that like that's the fantasy of transcendence. That it's like we think that it's going to be some magical threshold that we cross when really the reality of it is witnessing. Like it's taking all of your shit and looking at it and being like, okay, this is what it is. I'm going to let it go because I understand that this stuff doesn't define me. It doesn't like prove anything. It doesn't take away or add anything to what I experienced. I trust myself to know that stuff. And this is
Yeah.
how I'm going to.
Engage with
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It really just wants to be seen. It just wants us.
Totally. So what I'm curious like what your point of view is on the myth of aesthetic healing. Like you take like what they put on Instagram about what healing and all this stuff looks like. Like what is your opinion of that? What does that look like for you?
I have actually no idea what you're talking about. What's aesthetic healing? Like, I'm not, like, I put things out there and then I don't engage with social media other than like putting my stuff out there and then like going away.
So I
So
guess
what is it?
like honestly that's a pretty great answer. Like because exactly like the fact that like somebody that works so much on this doesn't even know what that means because it's so like just fluff. Like it would be like yoga and meditating and a green smoothie and the 5 a.m. club and like all of this just kind of like you're doing the things that would look good on paper, but it's not the messy stuff that actually makes a difference in your life. Like you can put all of that shit on. It's like all the stuff that you would put on as a band-aid for proving to yourself that you're
Right.
enough or you're whatever. But it doesn't
Right.
actually like get into the nitty-gritty, into the dirty, sticky, disgusting stuff like you're talking about.
The dirty sticky. Yeah. Right. So yeah. Exactly. And if those things help you, like if they really help connect you to yourself at the 5 a.m. or the green smoothie or yoga, if you're self connecting,
Yeah.
great. And you will know, right? Like you'll know. Like I know that if I don't move my body, I start to disintegrate mentally. And I don't like moving my body. It's hard to get out the door. And then I'm so glad I did. So, but I'm not like, I don't look good when I do it, and I don't, right? And I'm not posting, like I'm not taking a video of myself while I'm walking up a hill. So, um, I don't know, like, and
I like what you say about connecting, like, because I agree, like all that stuff is it. People listen to it because it's good, but it's not. If you're doing it as another form of performance, it doesn't do anything for you. And I feel like it's staying human and messy and curious that actually transforms you.
curious. Absolutely, and curious, and what's coming up, and can I be with that right now? And so in yoga, like I wouldn't want to go to yoga because I don't want to like messy cry in front of a whole group of people. But if people are comfortable with that and it works, then you are releasing something, right? And so yeah, whatever works for you for that self connection. And if you're doing it for a band-aid, you know you're doing it. If things aren't getting better, if your life isn't improving, if you don't feel more grounded and calm and peaceful, if you're still comparing, if you're still feeling like you suck and everybody else is amazing, then it's bullshit, right? Like it's just, you're not dealing with what created all the shit in the first place. So I'm always wanting to go to the root of things. What else? Everything else is just exhausting, right? It's exhausting, and I don't have the energy to pretend. Pretending is exhausting.
Yeah, 100%, 100% it is. I feel like, in my opinion, I feel like the stories that we've got going on in our head shape our identity more than our experiences do.
Well, I think they work
Okay.
together. Um, I really think that it depends on the conditioning in the very beginning. So cultural and familial conditioning, it presets us. We're like puppets, right? We're puppets, and then that conditioning leads us into the lived experiences that reinforces the conditioning, and then it's just a unconscious, habitual like experience, a lived experience. So the lived experiences is reinforcing the stories. And again, like what is real? Like how do you start? So the most recent story that's going on in your head that's just a loop, like let's take that apart and see what's underneath it once it's dissolved, right? So we're just starting from the top and going down as deep as you can go. So whatever is current, whatever story that you feel stuck in is where we would start. And then we would just unlayer and unlayer and unlayer because we're layers. Each lived experience is a layer. Each encounter is a layer. It all folds in. And we can't possibly comprehend that with our mind or sight, but our body absorbs it all, like all of it. And so what is in there? There's a lot of gunk. And so how can we ever step into who we really are if we're like chock full of junk?
Right.
And so I was really really full of crap
Right.
and
Yeah,
junk.
totally. Well, and I feel like rewriting the story changes how you move, how you choose things in your life, how you love, how you see yourself. So like,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah, yeah,
Can't do
yeah,
anything without removing
yeah.
it.
You can't, or and like really dealing with it first, like really honoring, really holding, really witnessing, and then it just leaves, right? It's just gone, and you don't have to suffer. Like I just want to be really clear that I don't want anyone to suffer while they do this. I want them to be with it, but I don't want anyone to suffer. And I think one of the things that happens is that people are so terrified of this work that they start doing it and it feels good, and then they get really involved, and then like a workshop is only 3 hours, and it can take a much longer time, and people can go at their own pace, but they feel so proud of themselves because they did it. They thought it was going to be so hard, and not only was it not as hard as they thought, they just have this lived experience now of I can do things that I'm scared of, and they're not as scary as I thought. So when we do scary things, we just feel better about ourselves. We feel like little badasses because we are.
Yeah.
But we never give ourselves a chance to know because we're too scared to step into it.
For sure.
So
How
Step in, be
how do you
messy.
think that you can tell when your story is outdated or like inherited,
Uh,
distorted? Can't
uh,
talk.
Distorted. Your story is outdated. Your story's outdated because what story, if it holds you back, it's
Yeah.
outdated. So, if it doesn't hold you back, then it's great. Like love is, there's nothing like, so if you're feeling love and calm and peace, then your story is not outdated. If you're feeling like small and self-conscious and less than or comparative, your story is outdated. Like it's not serving you. What's not serving you is outdated. It's outdated. Just automatically. If it hurts, it's outdated. You're not meant to hurt. You're not meant to suffer. You're meant to love yourself. And there's so much fear. So if you're in fear, it's outdated. It's just outdated.
Okay, so when you realize
Period.
that, you do the
Uh
soul
huh.
portrait? Like, can you tell me about the soul portrait? Can we talk about how to do a soul portrait?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. And especially Sarah, like you want to do this, I'll send you a thing, and you can definitely do the whole thing on your own. You can text me and be like, I'm stuck here or stuck there, whatever. I just want people to do this. Um, okay, so how do you do it? So whatever it is, like so if I were to ask you right now, what is the thing that you feel is holding you back into a smaller version of yourself? What is still circling in your mind, your body, that's limiting you from stepping into who you want to be? Like what's a sticking
It's
point?
definitely my not enoughness wound. That's like my biggest one. And it comes in several different forms, like, but it shows up in all areas of my life.
So you can do it two ways. You can start with the way that it's showing up in your life in the most like upsetting way, the one that's like, I would be really happy if this changed. And so whatever that is, I want all the materials that correlate with that specific belief about yourself. Um,
So,
so
like, you're saying I should be more specific than that? Like, am
yeah.
I picking an event?
Well, what's one of the first events that led to that belief of not enoughness?
The first thing that comes to mind is like girls I grew up with, like girls in
Uh huh.
school.
Yeah, Mean
Uh huh.
Girls. They're so
They're
fun.
super fun.
Aren't they? So yeah, like any materials that you have or don't have, like you can go online and get materials if you don't have
Mm.
materials for what is associated with Mean Girls. So a lot of people or whatever it is, like another person I worked with, they didn't have any materials from their mother who tried to suffocate them as a child, or their first
I was
right,
gonna
like
say
or
my mean girl one
it,
sounds so stupid now.
no, 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 and that's another thing. Like from divorces, like nobody had the paperwork, but I want to be really, really clear that your nervous system and what feels it having Mean Girls is not in any way, shape, or form less significant than that. It is it is a dimming of your value based on messages outside of yourself, and it is so important. And I never ever ever, there's no hierarchy of
Yeah.
pain. There's no like their situation is better or worse or less or more, because it's your experience, and your experience deserves your full tenderness, and it does not want to be diminished because it absolutely formed your value, your sense of value. And so those Mean Girls are really scary and they're really mean. And that's a very formative time in your life that you're conscious of,
Mm.
right? Like it's a horrible smallness. Like I just hate it. And so I want to just wrap my arms around the little girl,
Same.
right? And so none of
Yeah.
that, like not as. So
I'm glad I
anyhow,
said that because I'm
um,
glad you said that. It was
yeah,
good.
yeah. So those materials and rip it up and see what happens. Feel what happens in your body because you're taking back your power when you do that. You're saying those messages don't hold me. They don't define me in a very real and tangible way. Even if you don't have like a nasty note from that time or whatever it would be, or, if they spray painted on your locker or drop things in it or whatever, however it showed up, right? So people are like, oh, you know, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. I'm like, words hurt
I
so
never
much. That's the
understood
most
that
ridiculous,
saying. I
right?
know.
What?
I'm like, give me
Absurd.
the stone.
So
I'd rather take that than the words.
it's all like so, it's so painful. And like, why do we have to pretend that it isn't? Like, why do we have to be the, like, oh, that doesn't hurt me? It does. It hurts every
Mhm.
time. And it adds up every time. And then we make choices based on that every time. And so we get led down a path. And there are so many opportunities and possibilities when we start, um, what is it, reverse engineering all of those lived experiences. So if that's really where those messages started, that's a great place to start.
Okay. So then we collect all of the things, and you basically just do whatever you want, like tear it up, burn it. Like, do we put it somewhere? Do we throw it
Yeah,
away?
yeah, yeah. So, okay, so people can do this on, I wish I had just an example here. I'm looking around. So really, I guess the painting behind me, I don't know if you can see, you
Hmm.
can sort
Yeah,
of
for sure.
see, like, so in there, so it's ripped up materials. You can put it down on cardboard, on paper. So you're gluing it down. You're rereading, rewriting. Well, you're not rewriting yet, so I apologize. You're taking materials, and they can be from that specific time and only about that. So I made it confusing. You can do that because it's the first thing that that came up for you. And then whatever else, like follow your instincts. It's a practice of trusting your intuition because that will always guide you. So if there are other materials that you start thinking about, add them. And and so you're ripping them all up and you're gluing them down on whatever surface you want, whether that's paper, cardboard, canvas, raw canvas, stretch canvas, whatever, absolutely whatever you want. And you're gluing that down and then you're writing over the top of that as a way to anchor. So you're looking at something that appears to be rather chaotic. And it can be, like I said, just one specific day, one specific experience, or it can span 30 years. I've done both. People have done both. Just follow your intuition. You cannot get it wrong. You're gluing it down, let that dry. You can speed it up by putting it in the sun or using a hair dryer, and then write over the top of it what you think this all means, like the beliefs that you had about yourself. And it's free writing, just whatever comes into your mind. What do you think this meant? What did you believe because about yourself because of these experiences? So write, and you can do a lot of words, you can do sentences. If you're having trouble and you've got a favorite quote or a poem that you feel will anchor it for you, that really sums it up, go ahead, write that on it. Just write whatever like encapsulates what you're seeing and feeling in the moment. And that anchors who you are now. Just the act of writing over it, you are capturing who you are, the energy of who you are now. And then the painting, so let that, if you're doing that, usually that's with like, you can do it with Sharpie, you can do it with crayon, you can do it with whatever marker, or I use charcoal because I like charcoal. So whatever you like. And then you can paint over it. And people do this in different ways. They can do it in washes so that you can see parts of your story coming back. And or they really paint over it. And it's not about erasing it or denying it. It's that I am done with this. And so if there are things that you're less done with, then there's a bit of a reveal and you can see parts of it. And I really like to have that kind of peekaboo image because it says where I've been. And then other people just like totally paint over it, like a completely painted over thing that says, this is who I want to step into, this is what I'm capable of. People have done, like, it can be stick figures. If they're like, oh, I can't paint, I'm like, you can do anything. You can even print out another piece of paper and glue that over the top of it and paint that. It doesn't have to be your own. I would encourage people to make it their own, because not that that takes it away from being your own, but that I really believe that anything you make is tremendous and beautiful and wonderful. And so I want to see what your, and I call it 5-year-old skills. Like, I don't care what it looks like, I care what it feels like. And when you anchor who you are and then draw or paint who you know yourself to be, whatever that is, so people can draw us, right? Remember kids who like draw a sun or a little house or whatever, to people hold stick figures holding hands, or just a heart or a sword. Like, people do whatever it is that they feel excited about moving forward, and they knew the meaning of it for themselves, and that's what matters. And then people burn it, or they frame it, or they roll it up and put it away. You do whatever you want with it, and again, you're the only one who needs to know. You're the only one who needs to see it and be with it. And just let me know what it feels like, because I can't wait to hear what your
Oh my
experience
God, I'm
was.
so excited. I'm 1000%. I have nothing to do this weekend. This is what I'm going to be doing. I'm so excited to do it.
Awesome.
And I'll definitely have to
Awesome.
tell you how it goes. We'll talk about it. Because
Yeah.
I'm for sure going to
Yeah.
be like, Devorah, I don't know what to do about this part. You have to help me. Okay, yeah, yeah. I like the
Perfect.
idea that, like, you're starting at the beginning and letting your intuition take you. That it is not some, like, rule following thing. Like, there's no right way to do it, all of the things. So cool.
Mhm.
Okay, that's,
Yeah, you can't get it wrong.
yeah, that's cool. That's really transformational. I'm excited to try it.
Well, and it's your foundation. You let your materials tell your story for you, because we're always going to have a bias about it. We're always going to mess it up. Like, if you're working with your materials, just let them tell your story. You can write later, you can paint later, but just let them have their moment, so that they get to be honored and seen and be with it. And take as much time as you want, or do it as quickly as you want. Again, there's no way to do it wrong, no right way to do
I
it.
feel like too, like the more you like by doing this and expressing yourself through doing this, it builds self
Uh,
trust.
100%. And even when you're collecting materials, that's building self trust, because you're following your intuition the whole way. If you pick up something random, bring it. And then you'll know, like, when if you're tearing something up and you're like, I'm not sure about this, that's your intuition. You tear it up, you're like, ooh, it's okay. Like, or you like mistore it. And people use scissors too. Like, if you want to use scissors, like, whatever. I personally like tearing things. I like that raw
Mm-hmm.
edge, because what are we? We're edgy, we're raw. And so let's allow for that. So, in any way that we can reinforce that all things are acceptable, I'm all for it. And if you like clean edges, I'm like, great, that's acceptable too. So, you can't get it wrong. You just can't get it wrong.
Totally.
And let your intuition guide
I
you,
feel like
because it
I feel like
will.
it helps you stay like in that liminal space without losing yourself. Yeah.
Yeah. In the present moment,
Right.
too. Is that what
Yeah,
you mean?
yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, right. Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah,
Okay, sweet.
it is cool.
So to wrap up, I always ask my guests a series of questions. I ask them
Oh God.
because I ask because you guys always seemingly have it all together, but we know, especially based on everything we've talked about, that's not the truth. So
Right.
paints like this good picture, but because you're so healed a lot of the time, you've got really good answers to the questions. So I've got 9 rapid fire questions if you're down for them.
Ooh. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
What or who are you jealous of right now?
Ooh. I'm sure I could come up with somebody. I guess anybody who can travel first class to a destination of their desire.
Great answer. When's the last time you sacrificed your own wants or needs to keep the peace with others, even though you didn't want to?
Yesterday.
Love it. What's a moment recently where you caught yourself ignoring your own needs or choosing yourself instead? So either one.
I'd say yesterday again. Like, yesterday was a rough day. I chose my own needs and didn't get the result I wanted. And I also didn't choose my own needs and sunk a little deeper. So
Cool. I love that.
yesterday,
Yeah.
yesterday was not a good day.
What do you find yourself overthinking about these days?
Hmm. That's a hard one. Uh, this answer, I'm
Yep.
overthinking
Yeah.
this answer.
I love that.
I don't know how to answer that.
Yeah, I mean, if that's fine. That's an answer.
I mean, I guess if I were to say it, it's like, oh, should I be spending more time like getting this out there? Like, is this the best way to like nobody knows about this, right? Nobody like I tend to I'm very hermity and I like to be alone and it's antithetical to like spreading the word about this or like setting up. I love going into other people's wellness retreats and doing a workshop, but it's not so fun. I resist setting up my own workshops and organizing them, and I'm just like ugh. So I overthink how to like expand this aspect of my work.
I love that answer. Cool.
Okay. I did it.
Yeah,
Yay,
that
I
was a
did a
good
good
one
job.
for sure. What is a should, like an expectation that you've put on yourself that you've let go of, or one that you know you still need to?
Well, like the one I just talked
Yeah.
about is a definite should that I think I do need to do, right? Like push myself to get out there and to talk about it. And the second half of that question, or the first half, like letting go of not being enough was like the best thing ever. So knowing that my value doesn't change is very, very freeing, and not letting other people's opinion of me keep me back, hold me back, or keep me small. Like that I really and that's a practice, right? Like there are times, and thankfully I am very grateful that I have a good relationship with my parents, and I care about them a lot. And when I visit them, it is challenging, right? Because I make them very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it's hard not to take that personally. And so that is a practice, right? To know that despite the way they experience who I am in the world doesn't mean that they're right. And that it also doesn't mean that they don't love me and that I don't love them. Because there's a lot of love there. It doesn't look like the Nestle Toll House cookie love that we all think we
For
want.
sure. I love that answer.
I can make my own
Yeah,
cookies.
hell yeah. What's something that makes you quick to get annoyed or angry?
When I was gonna say something kind of silly. Um,
You can.
dishes,
Yep, good one.
like dishes are super annoying, and dishes and when I'm hungry, like when I'm hungry and I want somebody to feed me immediately because I don't like cooking,
Same.
and I very much like to be fed well.
Yeah, like, that was a really good answer. I loved that.
They're like, here's dinner.
Yeah,
So,
literally. What's a toxic thought you still catch yourself believing?
um, that I am too late, that I'm too old, that my time has passed.
Love that. What's a wellness rule or trend you don't? Well, hold on. Not that I love that you think that. Love that answer.
Right, right, right.
What's
I got
okay?
you.
Good. What's a wellness rule or trend you don't buy into?
All of the
Love.
bullshit, like all of it.
Yeah.
I hate the bullshit. Like, come on, just stop it.
If you could leave my wellish friends with one piece of advice on becoming more well than toxic, what would it be?
Love yourself. Learn how to love yourself and be your best friend. Really, be your best friend. So, you are your best friend. You have to. Why wouldn't you be your best friend? Why wouldn't you?
100%. The other night I was laying here beating myself up about literally God knows what, and I was literally like, "Hey, can we just lay here, babe? Is it all right if we just lay here?" And it worked, and I was like, "Nice, cool." So I agree.
Yeah, I love that so
Yeah,
much.
it was good.
It's very cool.
Where can people find you
Yeah.
and your work?
They can find me on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok. And yeah, and I have like soulportrait.art /workshop. Like if people want a workshop, they can, like if they want to book a group workshop for their whatever
Cool.
event, like people who run divorce groups book me, who have grief groups book me, like that kind of thing. And it's not all dark. People who want to celebrate a relationship and do like a couple's soul portrait, they do that together too. That's like setting an intention for a relationship or celebrating, you know, 30, 50 years together. We do that too. So I'm not all vampire darkness. I do some lovely things too.
Yeah, it's so cool.
So
Amazing. I'll put it all in the show notes too, like where people can find you and your
cool.
stuff. Wait,
Yes.
Devorah, thank you so much for this. This was such a good interview. I loved talking to you.
I loved it too, Sarah. It was really fun. Thank you.
Yeah.